we are given this ridiculous idea from the online business belief system that says that business is about growth and scaling, and it's always, very linear. And the only good way to go is like this upward direction and preferably fast. And I just, I don't believe it, because in reality, growth is such a cyclical thing. So many times this year, I've come back to lessons I thought that I'd actually learnt. Welcome to Wild and Finally Fucking Free, the show for disruptors, rebels, and revolutionaries who know they're here to change the damn world. I'm Kylie Patchett, your voice and visibility catalyst, and here we dive into unapologetic truth, magnetic messaging, and visibility that actually feels good in your body, your bones, and your business. We share the stories of the out-of-the-box, neuro-sparkly, creative, witchy wild ones, rewriting how we live, love, learn, and lead. This isn't about being louder. It's about being rooted, resonant, and regulated so you can be real, raw, and ready to roar. If you're done contorting yourself to fit the mold and you're ready to own your voice, your power, and your place in the revolution, welcome home. Let's dive in. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. This is, the second to last. I was going to say last, but it's the second to last episode for 2025. And I'm recording this on my last day of work for 2025. And I was thinking about, what do I want to share with you to wrap up 2025 in a bow? I don't know about you, but I will be glad to see the back this year. I was just reflecting as I was having a shower this morning, and I was thinking, oh, wow, I stepped into the new year and I had declared these 3 big declarations, and they were to finish the year fit as fuck, rich as fuck, and relaxed as fuck. And let me tell you, none of those things happened. But I also want to say, almost like you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And it's a funny thing. Each year for the last few years, I have called in, rather than a theme word or a core desired feeling, I've worked with a specific archetype. So in 2024, I worked with the Empress and really learned a lot about owning my magic and sitting and being receptive and trusting the flow of the universe. And each year when I ask for my next archetype, it's not something that I go and find. I just say, all right, show me what's coming. Show me an archetype that would really help me to embody my evolution this year. And this year, and I always am kicking and screaming when they come, by the way. This year, I asked for my archetype, and a couple of times I got pinged by the idea of the phoenix. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound very, I love me a rise from the ashes, but 2024 was a year of expansion and lots of joy, lots of learning, but, lots of really cool stuff. And then I get given the phoenix and I'm like, that doesn't feel very fun to me. Anyway, I know better than to say no. So I say yes, step into 2025. Oh, well, it has definitely been a year of burning old identities, old ways of being, old habits down. I know so many people around me, and, I hear a lot of people in the collective consciousness talking about this, the energy of the year of the snake and how we shed skins, and it's a year of transformation, and also being a 9-year numerologically, and that all being about, cycles coming to an end and letting go of old, like I said, habits, identities, etc. Far out, man. I knew when the phoenix came to me that this was going to be a lot of burning down to rise anew, burning down to rise anew. I feel like I have lived 60 years in one. And so many people around me have had similar years of loss, devastation, change that wasn't by choice, sickness, yeah, lots of death, lots of grieving. For me personally, my family's been walking the road of watching someone very dear to me, my stepdad, my bonus dad, going through dementia. And, that's a specific type of grief where you start to lose the person before you actually lose them when they pass, because over time things change and they get less and less capable and potentially more and more frustrated. And yeah, it's been hard to watch. We've been in hospital 7 times. We've been in hospital 7 times. I also have to say, we went to this wedding last weekend, and, weddings are so cool. Like, I love love. I love seeing everyone celebrate, and this whole concept of stepping into this, always write in wedding cards, may this be just the first step in a grand adventure together. And I love the energy of a wedding. And I also was feeling really, really sad at the same time. And I went and sat. It was at this beautiful little Anglican church up on top of a hill, and it was stinking hot. Holy moly. Whew, summer wedding. And I went and sat in the church. It was only a little church, but beautiful stained glass windows. And I was just sitting there. My dad used to say, I'm going to have a word to the big fella upstairs. And I think I've said before many times here, I'm not really a religious person, but I do certainly believe that there is a bigger pattern and energy, which I would call the universe, that, we're always dancing with, always learning through, always getting the challenge and the triumph and the, everything that we needed to deliver ourselves to the world. And I sat in this church and I was just thinking, like, please just allow me to have grace and presence and patience with myself. And as I came out of the church and just feeling into the juxtaposition of how many competing emotions can be in the one human experience. It's like grief and deep gratitude for love and family and community and weddings and sunshine and the heat of summer and the beauty of life, and grief of losing people, grief of saying goodbye to old identities that have served me, and delight and devastation and love and loss, like all these, what would be on the surface maybe seen as competing emotions. But I think the gift of this year for me has been, I talk a lot about this with clients, a capacity building. We are given this ridiculous idea from the online business belief system that says that business is about growth and scaling, and it's always, very linear, and the only good way to go is like this upward direction and preferably fast. And I don't believe it, because in reality, growth is such a cyclical thing. So many times this year I've come back to lessons I thought that I'd actually learnt. And then, of course, as with all self-mastery kind of work or evolution, you meet a different edge in the next turn around the circle, right? You meet a different depth of initiation. And yeah, I think for me, when I talk to clients about capacity, I've never, ever, ever want anyone to think that expansion is only linear. To me, expansion is so much more about expanding your capacity to be present with it all. And that means, like I just said, the grief and the gratitude, the love and the loss, the delight, the devastation, the ups, the downs, the sideways, and to not also ever feel like self-identity or like knowing who you are in business is like a one and done thing. Because again, we go through cycles of like shifting understandings of ourselves. And if you're anything like me, like I have to try things on for size. There is no point me thinking this is what I want to do in the world. I need to feel it in my body. I get the inspiration, I create it, and then it's in the doing that I know whether it's right for me or not. And so if I subscribe to the linear business model or the linear personal development model or growth model, I would be going, oh my God, I'm just such a failure because I keep on going, I like suck it and see kind of way of growing a business, but that's the way that I'm designed. And I think that has also been, I was going to say, when I was in the church before I came out, and on the right-hand side of the church was this little bench, and it was someone who had a date of birth and a date of death. They would have been about 30 when they passed. And it was that, I meant to look it up before I started recording, the quote about grief is the price we pay for having loved. But it's much more eloquent than that. But anyway, I'm sure you know what I mean. And I was thinking about that and it was like, yeah, and self-mastery and, burning things down, letting things go, stepping into the cauldron of that phoenix energy of like, I'm here for the next evolution, the next initiation. And that means that by definition, there's going to be things that I need to shed to make space for the new, right? And that is the same as the cycle of life with all of the light and dark and love and loss and death and cycles. I don't know if you can hear in the recording, but it's a beautiful summer day here and there is birds chirping away. And that's one of my favorite things about spring and summer, that we have so much bird life here. And it's such a sign to me, like the world is alive, like the light and the heat of summer and this kind of growth period. And equally, I have learned to love the quiet and the turning in of the winter. And I think that's one of the things that, on reflection of 2025, that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, is that I finally gave myself a proper wintering this year. And I am so grateful I did, because the 5 and a bit months since I've given myself that winter sabbatical have been some of the most intense personal months for me. And they've stretched me. I have been on my knees many, many minutes, this far out so often, just thinking out loud, I don't know whether I can do this anymore. And then always feeling this grace of, some people would call that God or whatever your religious belief is. I would say it's just the grace of the universe, the grace of universal life force that says, when you're on your knees, when you can't hold it anymore, I get myself emotional. When you can't hold it anymore, give it to me. Give it to me. And yeah, I made a really conscious decision this year, and this is probably the second thing I'm most grateful for. At the beginning of the year, I really realized that I had made a very poor decision about investing in business mentorship. I fell for the coaches coaching coaches to coach coaches bullshit in terms of the $30,000 a year mastermind that's supposed to be like individual tailored advice, and ended up being in the room of 300 people. And just having the chance to really stand my ground personally, and to really, really clearly hold the pose of someone that's like, no. When you and I were talking about this offer, this is what you said, and this is not what is being delivered. And that's been a really good lesson for me too. Like, stand your ground. If you don't believe in something in terms of fairness or equity or justice, like, I've got this really big, strong rebel fighter in me, right? And I've realized how often in my life the fighting has just been like an identity thing. It's like fight against everything. And as I get older and wiser, I realize that most things are not worth fighting for. I'm often thinking to myself, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Like, some things are just not worth even. Quick pause, my love. If you've been feeling like you've outgrown some of the boxes you used to fit in, or there's a version of you that is ready to speak more unapologetically, to lead from a whole other, more bold, more beautiful evolution, and to be seen for your unique gifts and genius, you need to get your hands on a Genius You human design reading. And no, this is not a human design reading like you know it through the tropical system with like a rote, surface level generic description. This is actually the way that I do human design through the lens of true sidereal, which is true sky at the time of your birth, human design, and an intuitive coaching audio breakdown that decodes your voice, your visibility, your purpose. It is a massive permission slip. It is a mirror to your magnificence. And it is the perfect gift right now to yourself to enter 2026 with a whole new level of the evolution you're stepping into. The way that I see true sidereal human design is like the next step, the next stage, the next wild woman yes to your evolution. And right now, these are half price, which is $222 US for a 60+ page report, an hour of intuitive coaching from me in audio reading format, and also the ability to add on an in-person intuitive coaching session to answer any specific questions that you might have as a follow-up. And they are available very, very, very excitingly on my brand new website. Now, it's a complicated URL, so if you're listening to this, go and check the show notes. But where you will find them is offers.kyliepatchett.com/genius. offers.kyliepatchett.com/genius. All right, back to the show. Trivial things that used to be things that I would be like, no, that's not right. I must be heard. I must have my say. Now I just don't care. But for big things, I feel like my spine is like steely for those big things. So that has been another blessing of this year. And I feel like the other thing that came from that was this really clear understanding of taking responsibility for my part in externalizing outside of me that answers. So I had a wildly expansive 2 months in November, December in 2024. And I realized that there was something at the edge of my capacity that got triggered with that huge amount of expansion, both visibility, but also financial abundance coming into my business. And I hit a tripwire and I hit a very clear limit in my nervous system for receiving. And as soon as I did that, self-sabotage by, making a really stupid business decision. But I am also really grateful for that. The first half of this year, I grieved that decision. I felt like I couldn't trust my own judgment. Do I even want to be a part of a community that lies to people and is just about profit over scruples and is just about, capitalistic bullshit over actual contribution from the heart? Do I want to be part of that industry? And in the end, what I've settled on this year is, yes, I want to be part of that industry, but I want to be one of the people and one of the many people. I'm not saying that everybody in this industry is like that. One of the many people creating different ways of doing business, of creating new pathways, of shifting paradigms. And, there was a big gift in that. The lesson was, don't believe someone else knows better about you and your version of soul-fueled sustainable business success. And I'm talking to you as well, right? This is a lesson for me. But the more that we try and externalize the answers or the right way of being in the world, whether that be business, whether that be relationship, whatever you're looking for kind of assistance or help with, it's not outside of us. And so when we go looking for, I can so see the whole dance of that decision, which was about this time last year, a little bit earlier. It came from a place of lack. It came from me feeling like if I was going to continue this rapid expansion, I think I wrote a post about going from 6 figures to 7 figures this year. And I look back and I think, I can hear the little girl who didn't feel supported inside of me making those ridiculous coaches to coaches style of like, yeah, I'm going to go all in. It's going to be massive growth. And whilst I'm not saying that everybody that makes those proclamations is a bullshit artist, I can see now, in all honesty, looking back at the parts of me that were activated, that was all a wounded child looking for me, one of the patterns that has always been a tricky one is that work equals worth equals wealth being the end point, and feeling through that and really understanding where some of my business decisions were coming from still at 50. Like, yes. Anyway, so one of the things I decided to do from that as a result is not work with a business coach at all this year. And I feel like I'm going to continue that because, frankly, I have had more ease, more lessons more quickly in business, trusting myself. Now, I will say that I also had the wisdom, the felt sense in my body. And it's so funny. At the time when I invested in these 3 things I'm just about to tell you about, I would have said to you it was to close like a skill gap, which I see is very different to like, I want to outsource my answers and you're going to tell me how to make a successful business. That is actually something that's like trying to fill a hole where we don't actually trust ourselves and we don't have the self-mastery to understand what we really want, where our blind spots are, and actually, commit to that kind of deep diving identity work, right? But I knew that I wanted to work with energy medicine more. My beautiful husband is going past with an enormous big container of nectarines. Our nectarine tree is just prolific at the moment. Thank you, universe, for the beautiful nectarine harvest. Yeah, so I wanted to learn more energy medicine because my sense was, like, I've always been really intuitive. I've always had the ability to see and sense and feel energy in different textures and feelings in my body. And I've always felt like that's just what everyone can. And then realizing, no, not everyone can do that. And so I wanted to kind of feel into working with energy more. And so I apprenticed this year with the beautiful Julia Albane of Radical Healers, who I'm just about to actually have a session with very shortly. Good way to tie up the year. And that has been an epically perfect circle for me to be in. And when I entered it, if you'd asked me why, I would have said, I want to learn skills about working with energy so that I can offer that as another kind of modality and support to my client circles. And I have undoubtedly learnt skills, but the decision, the felt sense in my body to be in that circle was so much more about the fact that I needed to be in circles where I felt safe, where I felt seen, where I could turn up in whatever iteration I needed to. And these are all things that I provide to my clients, right? And I have experienced them sometimes with other people on the internet, but I definitely did not experience it in that example that I just shared with you about what the reality was of the business mastermind I thought was a good thing and was not. So being held, being seen, and learning how to receive and ask for support from the energy. And, this depends on how you see energy. But to me, there is a life force that pulses through the universe that, tells birds when to cheep and tells my beautiful rose bush when to bloom, and also when it's time to die and when it's time to, compost, and when it's time for new, and when it's time for rest, and when it's time for much more outward energy. And that energy of the universe can be channeled, it can be directed, it can be asked for support. And so a lot of what has gotten me through a really incredibly difficult year has been having both the circle of sisterhood that Radical Healers offers and also the ability to know that when I'm on my knees that there's something that I can ask for help. And also let this be a lesson to me and you. And also realize that you don't have to wait until you're on your knees to actually work with the field and work with whatever way you see spirituality, life force, energy, frequency, God, Buddha, whatever your belief system is, that there is absolutely something holding us when we can't hold ourselves. So that has been an incredible blessing this year. The second thing that I decided to do, earlier this year, I was doing interviews for a book that I have started writing, but I don't think it's going to be a book. I think she wants to turn into something else. Anyway, and I had been I'd met the beautiful Erin West, who is Humans Who Trade. She and I had started chatting about this time last year. I can't even remember how we found each other. Anyway, Erin West is a spectacular human. In that interview, I still remember, it was back in February 2025, and she said something to me about earning without efforting. And my head just about collapsed because I was like, what? Hang on a minute. Because, this working hard to create income has been a real, a life lesson for me, right? It's something that I'm still continuing to evolve through. And that one sentence that Erin said to me, it was like it was a doorway that opened that I didn't even know existed. Like I didn't even know there was a room in this lifetime where you could choose to earn and not effort. Like what? So myself and my beautiful husband have been learning from Erin. So Erin, her course is called Humans Who Trade, and she teaches mostly females, but not always, how to be financially educated in terms of how to surf the waves of trading and how to create income in a way that does not require efforting in the way that we've been taught it does. So it's definitely been a huge expansion. It's been a hugely triggering journey, I have to say, in terms of like just meeting all of these really subconscious beliefs about work and wealth and money and women. And just, being in a long line of like beef, dairy farmers, a dad that grew up in the Depression, like lots and lots of generational beliefs around money and also working hard and efforting, and that is just what you need to do. But also if you earn money without efforting, there's something somehow wrong with you, which obviously not a very helpful belief system. So I count myself very blessed to have been sitting at the feet of the beautiful Erin West as well, because like I said, I feel like Erin has opened a door for me that I didn't into a room I didn't even know existed. And a little birdie tells me that she has got an epic sale coming up sometime over the Christmas period. So if you're interested in learning how to trade and create income in a way that does not require X amount of time at a desk, I highly recommend. Highly recommend. And again, I would say, if I'd said to you why I did that, I would say it was a skill gap. And that is true. There was definitely a skill gap, massive skill gap. But also, what it has given me is more and more understanding through community of my own belief systems around wealth work, generational wealth, money creation, who trades on the stock market. It just has shown me so many incorrect or unhelpful beliefs that I wasn't even conscious of. So that has been a huge blessing. And then the third thing that's been a massive blessing, and this is a more recent one, is finding actually through Erin West. So this is, again, I love how the universe works. It's like, I don't want a business mentor, but here's the things that I am like perceiving in my body I would like to learn or step into. So Julia, huge energy support blessing. Erin, huge money consciousness blessing. And then the final one has been most recently when, as I've shared on this podcast before, I've been diving into human design much more deeply this year, but something still was not feeling quite right. And because I talk about genius all the time, and G-Spot, my magnetic messaging program, is the first whole code is called the Genius Code. And the beautiful Annalena Fuchs, who is a true serial human design and gene keys reader and expert, she talks about the genius archetypes. So that's what she calls the partners in the gene keys, or partners in human design. And anyway, Erin introduced myself and Annalena, and that has been the biggest gift because it's given me, again, it's a doorway into a world that, like, I didn't know at the beginning of this year that true sidereal human design or astrology or gene keys existed. And here I am at the end of the year, halfway through. I've done reader certifications before, but halfway through a reader certification, which is being taught at and guided at a level that is completely different and completely more to do with how each individual student's intuition can allow them to open the gene key and human design knowledge in very different specific ways that will help their clients access different parts of themselves, right? And then, of course, just recently I was part of the True Sidereal Human Design Summit, which was a huge honor to be quite new to the world of true sidereal human design and relatively new to the world of human design, let's be honest. And to be able to have the full circle moment of, the anti-entrepreneurs that I wrote about in my book a decade ago, to actually understand that this true sidereal human design and gene keys is another layer to the system I created a decade ago, which is crazy to me. And to be able to share that to hundreds and hundreds of people, I think thousands actually, all over the world through the summit was such a gift. And what I'm realizing from all of that, depth of study and the way that Annalena holds in community as well, is that we can trust. Like, I have been saying this for years in business, right? No one else has your answers. I can't tell you what the best business model is. I can't tell you the best way of messaging. I can't tell you the offer suite that you should have, like a lot of the internet will say that they can. We can't. No one knows your answers. And I will also say that one of my geniuses is helping you uncover your own answers, your own way of doing things. And all I can see, as we step across the doorway, it's almost, 2 days away from solstice for me, summer solstice in the southern hemisphere, and equally 2 days away from winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. And just knowing that at that tipping point where we start the next phase, so for us, we're at the height of the summer, so we're starting the next phase, which will begin the descent and eventual crossing of the equinox, and then, into the winter solstice, of like, what do I want to take forward into the next phase, and what's ready to shed, right? What's ready to shed? What am I seeding? What am I calling in? What am I cutting away? This feels very true for me at the moment, that we're being given this last final, like we're just about to cross the threshold into a new year, this final chance to be like, what am I taking across this doorway? And one of the things that I am so delighted and excited by is using the wisdom of human design and the gene keys and the anti-entrepreneur system around business and visibility that is now a decade old, to help more paradigm shifters and more healers and helpers, more wisdom keepers, to actually uncover their genius and surrender to their magnificence, and then clear out all the old stuff that is out of alignment to who you really are underneath all the conditioning, and to step forward, because far out, man, the time is now. The time is now. And we're just about to step into the year of the fire horse. Like, in traditional Chinese medicine, like, fire is the symbol of passion and, fire as in warmth, and it's a fast energy. And we're stepping into a 1 year numerologically. And I did an energy medicine journey with the beautiful Julia the other day, and the kind of, it was a shamanistic journey. And as the drumming started, the invitation was, find a guide and ask for a gift to take across the threshold into the new year. And as soon as the drum started, I saw this really fierce looking warrior woman. She had a big staff and she was beating the staff on the ground in time to the drum. And there was a lot of very fast, very wild, very full bodied movement. Like it was very percussive. Like in my body, it was like real rising energy. And then when I asked for the gift, I saw hundreds of women on horseback, bareback horseback, holding onto the mane of the horse with a spear in the other hand. And it was just like, it's go time. And I was like, whoa, like full on body goosebumps here. And I really have a sense that that is going to be the quickness of the energy next year. And I'm not talking about growth and scaling and bro marketing bullshit, quick scaling. We've done a year of shedding. We've done a year of letting go. And if your year's been anything like me, we've spent a lot of time on our knees saying, I surrender, take it. I can't do it anymore. And yeah, here's to a year of really, really starting the new numerological cycle with devotion. Devotion to ourselves, our authentic selves, and devotion to stripping away everything that is not us. Because the world is at a tipping point. You know, we cross a massive threshold as soon as we step into 2027 or very early on in 2027. And this is the quickening year. And I just have a sense of how much this work in the gene keys and human design and helping people understand their unique gifts and seeing where you can potentially be more susceptible to outside influence, conditioning, and just knowing where to look, where to shine the spotlight. Because, you know, we all know all of those beautiful quotes about what we don't bring into the conscious mind runs us on autopilot in our unconscious mind. And yeah, I'm wildly excited. And also, I'm really looking forward to having a nap. I said to someone the other day, I will get to the finish line. I might be bruised, I might be bloodied, but what I didn't realize is that I'm bruised and bloodied, and I'm so wildly grateful for this whole experience. So from me to you, may you be aware of what is being called to shed and what you want to be claiming and naming and seeding for the new year. Thank you for being here as always. I don't take being able to speak to you every week lightly. That's been one of the things that, you know, has been a very special part of my business for the whole time that I've been back in business, which is now 2 and a bit years. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what the new year holds. But first, family time, beach time, sunshine, lots of sleep. I've got 10 new books from the library. Such a party animal. Oh, I can see my hammock and my beautiful big tree out the window, and I can see me, feet up in the hammock, just swinging in the breeze, enjoying a book, enjoying a nap. And when we're back in the new year, the exciting thing is we'll be live on our new website, new platform. So if you're also someone who is a member of a course or a program, you'll be getting all of those emails updating you very shortly. And I just wish you so much love. And, you know, I wish you it all. I wish you it all, because when we try and just only experience the positive stuff, or what we'd say is the positive stuff, we miss the spectacular light of the things that are blessings in our lives. So from me to you, happy holidays if you take them. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Happy Hanukkah if you are a beautiful Jewish friend. And whatever you are doing, whether Christmas is a really hard, challenging time or whether it's a time of delight, I hope that you can be present. Be present and know that you are loved. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If this episode lit a fire in your body, in your business, deep down in your bones, please take a moment to drop a rating and review so more rebels just like you can find us. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with your disruptive rebel and revolutionary friends who are ready to roar right alongside of you. Until next time, stay wild, stay unapologetic, and stay fucking free.